Great. So thank you for the introduction, and thank you for Dr. Halwani and Zara and Romy for your talks. They were really interesting and they connect really well with what I'll talk to today. So as Basil said, my focus, coming from a clinical background, my focus is always on solutions that are practical and can be applied easily, because from my perspective, in healthcare, technology needs to work for us. It needs to be adaptable to the end user. It needs to meet the masses, and it needs to be customizable to suit all the people that I need to train in whatever my field is. So obviously I feel very passionate about this, and Blue Mirror is a very exciting topic for me. So we've already covered off a lot of these topics. In the interest of time, I won't spend too much time on this, but we know healthcare-acquired infections are a major threat to healthcare workers, and PPE competency is key in that. So we need to, it is the basics that we need to focus on here. And it sounds like a straightforward topic. We need to learn how to do our PPE correctly. We need to make sure we're doing hand hygiene correctly. However, as Zara alluded to, education encompasses so many things, and that can be quite complex for people. Training programs are really difficult to scale. There's a huge gap between the theoretical needs in education and the practical application of that. And so that is a gap that we're trying to bridge here. I'm just moving, sorry, myself was on my screen. The other side to address is with PPE training challenges, there's so much data required to assess what's needed in your organization, the competency basis, where you're targeting your training, how you'll deliver that training, and it becomes quite a heavy administrative overload for educators. And we know that educators and infection prevention control specialists are incredibly valuable resources, and we do not have a lot of them, and that is the challenge for us. The next thing that is a huge challenge for organizations, and these challenges are across small organizations to large hospitals all across the world. How do we prove effectiveness? So I have a training program. I've thought very carefully about what's involved in my training program. I have endorsement from the specialists, infection prevention staff. It's delivered through the education team, but how do I prove that my training and education is effective and it's building that competency? And then the last thing is, will this work for my organization? So how can we apply solutions that I can take from this hospital A in this region with this type of influence for the staff? It's working really well there, but how do I know this is going to work for my organization? We work differently. The staff work strange hours. The education that is delivered in a completely different way. So how do we know that this is going to work across the board for different organizations? I'm just keeping an eye on the time, Basil, sorry. So what is Blue Mirror? So Blue Mirror is a software that's used on a device. So if you see on the screen here, you can see on the lower left-hand corner, I'm using an iPad in this image. So it's a digital mirror, and it utilizes computer vision AI, as well as audio and visual guidance to give users real-time corrective feedback when stepping through PPE donning and doffing protocols. It can be used anywhere from a completely anonymous session, which connects to what Zara was saying about ensuring people have the safety of practicing without feeling like I'm being watched or critiqued, all the way through to a full training session identifying the user, and an audit session, which is going to be testing my skill or competency at the right time, however often you need to do that. It's completely customizable to all types of PPE, all types of protocols, all languages. You can change the guides, the audio and visual guidance that's provided throughout the session, and most importantly, you create your protocols. So we are not recommending protocols. We are giving your education and IP team an extendable resource to help implement your training and PPE training throughout the organization. So what that means in real practical terms is, you can see here there's an instruction provided to the user. So the top two pictures there, you can see in the yellow boxes on the left-hand side, it's saying perform hand hygiene. On the right-hand side, it's saying put on your gown. And you can see there's a nice mixture of visual aids there that you can customize. It gives me a countdown timer. I can see myself, which is a really important part of training. And it's a really important part of building memory retention when we are learning practical skills, is to be able to see ourselves, practice, and get that real-time feedback. So the bottom two boxes you can see there, that's the feedback and corrective action. So when I try and do my hand hygiene and I don't complete it for the right period of time, for 15 seconds or 20 seconds, whatever you've decided, then I get an immediate prompt saying that was too fast, you need to repeat that step. So instantly I'm starting to be very aware that my hand hygiene needs to be that set period. And so I'm going to practice at that time every time I do it. And on the right-hand side, you can see there's an error saying that my gown is open at the back. So this is a really practical error, actually, because when you're on your own or you don't have a buddy, it's quite difficult to know that you've put your gown on correctly. And this is an example of Blue Mirror seeing me put on a gown, giving me some great guides. It gives me some audio guides on fastening at my neck, tying it around my waist. I've got some visual aids on the screen there. And then most importantly, I get to see myself. So I can see what I've done so far. And again, I get that real-time feedback and corrective action. So with a solution like this, and this connects to our previous speakers from today, Blue Mirror is a solution that's scalable. So this can be scaled across your entire organization. It's repeatable. So every single training session delivered by Blue Mirror is the exact same as the previous. So we have that consistency, and we have all the wonderful things about technology. It doesn't get tired. It doesn't call in sick for work. It doesn't have to structure training on a lecture or a group training session that I've had to coordinate and bring everyone to me. This is available to people on the wards and training facilities within your organization. It's available 24/7. So your equity all of a sudden is changed, because training equity is a very difficult it's a difficult thing to achieve when you've got such a diverse range of staff, but also hours that people work. I may only work night shifts, or I may only work very part-time on weekends. So how do you make sure that your training programs are delivered effectively for your entire organization, rather than those that are working on the wards or in your areas Monday to Friday day shifts, which often benefit the most from training programs, or expecting me to come in on my time off. This type of training, and again, connecting back, Zara, to what your presentation spoke to, it supports that psychological safety. So oftentimes when we've spoken to organisations and IP experts and educators, the delivery of practical training can feel a little bit confronting, because I know you're watching me, I know you're assessing me. I'm trying very hard to remember the steps that I need to take while taking on board your feedback. But that entire process can be quite confronting for some people. And Blue Mirror allows you to have those anonymous practical training sessions where Romy might take 1 or 2 sessions for him to be really confident in what he's doing, improve that competency. I might take 5 or 6, and I have that time and space now. I can do that. I can really take on board what I'm seeing, the feedback I'm getting. I can practice again until I get it right. So I can really start to build those memory blocks of good behaviors and good technique and what we're trying to learn in that session. Feeding back to the learning pyramid that was spoken to earlier, this combines so many of those elements, but the most important one obviously was that practical training, because that's 75%. And as a practical assessment, I need to be able to have the opportunity to practice as much as possible, but as a response in my day-to-day practice, I need to have built that memory retention in the first place to ensure that that competency is followed through in my application of my day-to-day work. And that can be quite difficult to achieve unless you have the opportunity to practice, which you do with Blue Mirror. The last thing I want to quickly talk to is being data-driven. And this is so important in any solutions you're providing, we all need to prove what we're doing and prove its effectiveness. We need that data to show where the areas are in our organisation that need to be targeted more than others. So there is no one-size-fits-all approach to training. Certain areas will need more thorough training and input, other areas won't, and that goes down right into an individual level. So it's really important to have solutions that capture that data, and for us, that is automated. So all of those sessions, every statistical part of the session can be captured. It also can be left anonymous. So we support both, and organisations use both functionalities within the same organisation. So if you're wanting it to allow a lot of practice sessions, you can have anonymous sessions. If you're wanting to train people, you can identify them using a staff code or something that's unidentifiable to us. And if you want to audit them, you can do that too. So it's really important to have solutions that can capture the data. And this is a screenshot of just some of the features that are available on our admin dashboard as well. The last thing I'll quickly mention, Basil, and then I'll wrap it up, is just a little bit of the results that we've got to share with everybody on the call today. So we are so incredibly overwhelmed with positivity with all of our results that we get in the trials and the pilots that we've run. All of this information is available on our website, but I'll just draw your attention to the right-hand side here. So this is a study that was wrapped up. It was in the Worcestershire Acute NHS Trust in the UK. So this ran over 8 months, and the structure of the study was 67 participants were audited in their PPE competency on Blue Mirror. Then they had a training session on Blue Mirror, and then after that training session, up to a couple of weeks afterwards, they had another audit to assess their competency. And it's probably a bit small on your screen, but what you can see there is that prior to being trained on Blue Mirror, the donning competency went from 67% up to 91% after using Blue Mirror for training. And then doffing competency, which was the key one for us, obviously, is that prior to using Blue Mirror for the training, the doffing competency was only at 56% for those participants. And that went up to 90% after being trained on Blue Mirror. So this, for us, was a really fantastic study, which showed and proved that the competency increased significantly after offering PPE training on our solution. The other thing that isn't on this sheet, actually, is that we also got 100% user recommendation, which was possibly the best part about it. All of the participants that partook in this study would recommend it to colleagues and really enjoyed it as a training tool. So that's, if people are engaged and they're enjoying what they're doing, they will do it more. And that's a key part for us. So we were really happy with those results. Basil, I won't play any other videos or anything because I can see that we're obviously running a bit short on time. So I can wrap it up there.